What's up, Andre? Good to see you. Welcome to Simulation Talk 187, everyone. Bradley, everybody on YouTube. Whew. Today's one more late one. Well, I guess it's not that late. I'm forgetting I'm in Central Time, so this is actually reasonable for most people, I guess, on the West Coast. So, John Blow, Van Dweller, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while. Agape, love? How are you? How do you pronounce your name? Agape? Agape? Is that how you pronounce it? What's up, John? The Gold Sig. Chico Doodles. Andre777. The Goaler Effect. Please use better English and be a better role model. My 6 months old is watching you. Yeah. That's unfortunate for your 6 months old. It's the love of God, agape. Oh, I didn't know that. That's really cool. This is a restricted live, sir or madam. So Daniel, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Miller Powie, hello. Agape, that's cool. I didn't know that. Learn something every day. Okay, what's up, Julia? Let's dive in. Thank you all. That is the name of the handle. Love it. Thank you, Marsha, for the roses. I appreciate you. Dog's arm. How you doing, Mustafa? How you doing, man? Haven't seen you in a while. How's life? How's everything, man? Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate you. Yeah, it was a good one. It was a long one, but it was a good one. It was a good conversation. I enjoyed it. I didn't even notice that it was 4+ hours. No chilling because this cat gets deep. It's a precise audio blog. All right. Yeah, I think we're getting enough people now. Welcome, everybody, to Simulation Talk 187. The channel revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found proof that we live in a simulation. And we meet here on a semi-daily basis. Not every day at this point. It's just too many things, but almost every day. And we discuss the discovery, the experimentation, and we just talk about all kinds of things. Talk about science, philosophy, religion, spirituality, God, whatever we want, we talk about. Doing great, dog's arm. I like it. Yeah, today I'm a little tired. It's not a secret, but I figured I'll still pop in and say hi. And wanted to see if people have any interesting things to say. Maybe we can comment on some of them. New evidence? No, nothing major that is new, but definitely there's a lot in the works. It's just certain things take some time. Me and David Carter have been working pretty hard on making things happen and move things along. I mean, a lot of people are working hard. We're just kind of trying to push the frontier in a way that will be actionable soon. But yeah, today I'm a little tired. I guess it shows. Yeah, Miller, unfortunately, the console, like I said, I'm going to be waiting. I'm going to wait until I get more information about what it really is to release that video, because I realized it's kind of, I have a kind of a video, new video about it in the chamber, and there's even some interesting graphics that Laszlo came up with of it. But I feel like I'm going in circles there. It's not really neither here nor there. So I don't want to talk about. I don't want to say the same things that we said. So as my cognition changed of a spirit molecule, I mean, I guess you can say that. I've been doing this for a long time. It's kind of hard to say when you've been doing it for that long. Who knows if it's just my mind changed in general, or are you talking about the day to day, or are you talking about while I'm on the molecule? Which one do you mean? Oh, Central Iowa. How you doing, Evil Eye? It's always funny because you handle. I'm like, thank you, Evil Eye. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate you. Day-to-day cognition, exactly. 421 Central Iowa. I hope woo, you enjoyed the podcast with Danny Jones. That was fun. Have I heard of the psionic talking about controlling UAP that have a console inside that connect the mind? Very interesting. Yeah, again, like I said, I know it disappoints a lot of people, but I'm not getting on that train, the UAP one. There's something about the way they're talking, the way they're operating. I just can't. I'm not buying most of it. Again, not to say that there's no truth there. Of course there is. It's just it feels to me that most people are talking in that space. They have no idea what they're talking about. Just my feeling, just my hunch. Absolutely, Miller. So fucking. How you doing, brother? Prometheus 254. Hoping I'm gonna have a restful night. What's up, Bucky Martin? Good to have you. Is it hard to make Dimitri? That's unfortunately I can't really answer. There's plenty of information online. I'm gonna sit this one out. So fucking is an epic handle, and he just came back from a meditation retreat, from Vipassana. So a lot of the action is happening on YouTube. So if you guys are on any other platform, if you want to check it out, it's Dango Thoughts, Dango Thoughts. That's where the majority of people are. Man, sorry. It's so crazy how tired I am today. What was that? Did you see that? Wait, that was a dust. What was that? Wait, Ebony? Where's Ebony? I don't see her. Usually I see her right away. Awesome, at the gym. Also, oh, dope. What's your handle on YouTube, Evil Eye? Also, I'm looking at the handle. It's awesome. Kitty Collection, CCD, Crazy Cat Daddy Crew. That's awesome. I have Heavenly Light. Oh yeah, I have Heavenly Light. Oh, aliens in the proximity. What do you mean? You asking me if they're coming? You see YouTube video about double slit experiment at home. Key point: the wave run parallel. Not sure what you mean. You're talking about the Veritasium recent video about all the paths that the light takes. Yeah, this is a known. This is quantum electrodynamics by Richard Feynman. I guess he was just outlining the fact that that's the case. Pretty sure that's what you're referring to. We are in the matrix, and Satan is controlling almost everyone. The Lord showed me the hidden works of Satan. The steps of righteous are ordered. If you're not being led by God, you're being controlled. I mean, these are strong words. I appreciate you, Agapella, but we don't preach here. That's not what we do here. We're here to exchange ideas and to be kind to each other. That's how we follow the way of God. We don't preach here. I hope that's okay with you. What are the hooded reptilian like beings with hoods in the space? You what do you mean by who are they, man dweller? That's an open question. Can't see YouTube. What do you mean? So the string of dust, organic synchronicity. Yeah, right. It was crazy. What was that? I gotta go back to like what minute was it? Like minute 9 or something, right? Somebody rewind and tell me what that was. That was crazy. Dog hair, yeah. It was big. Confirmed yawns are contagious to a computer screen. It's one of the most contagious things ever. The yawns. I don't know. I guess because we are tribe and we're all like ready to go to sleep. Now you tell me about it. What's up, Nico? Thank you for the rose. Oh man, yeah. I need to adjourn soon. This is crazy. Light is the fastest phenomenon there is observed, at least, and you have it in your head firing constantly. Isn't that awesome? That is awesome. Here she is, evil icon. Well, that's fine with me, but you don't follow God. If you don't follow his word, that is a deception. Sure, but again, you're preaching. So you can just show kindness, and just be here and engage with the community. We don't do preaching here. It's not interesting. It's condescending, and it doesn't feel good to other people. I know it feels good to be on your end because you think you're in the right, but it doesn't feel good to basically anybody else who's not necessarily aligned with exactly your mission. And even though I am fully aligned with the fact that we want to follow the light, there's ways to do it, and telling people what they're doing wrong is not one of those ways. At least not on this live. Um, doing great, Greg. How are you, brother? Blessed night, all of us. We can all agree you have been grinding. Rest, I will. Soft and ever pleasant night. Well, man, that made me very, very even sleepier, but in a good way. What's up, Angela? Makes me very cozy. Do you experience crazy synchronicities confirming you're on the right path with the search? Yes, all the time. They're pretty crazy. Nico, how you doing, my brother? So good to see you. What's up? What's up, Just Jen? Good to see you as well. Coffee time? No, it's sleepy time. Um. Also, thank you for joining Evil Icon. Appreciate you. Yeah, synchronicities have been kind of ramping up for sure. What's my thoughts on retrocausality? I think it tracks. I think it pretty tracks. Yeah, I think it makes sense. Nathan's saying, sorry if it's been asked previously, but what are your thoughts on UAP activity? Yeah, I'm not sold that almost anybody in that space knows what they're talking about or that they have any information. And I know it upsets a lot of my audience because a lot of people here are really into it. And I encourage people to be into whatever really drives them. Some of my closest people that help me, Ebony, they're really deep into that space. They love it. Chris, I believe. I'm not so much. I don't know why. It doesn't resonate with me. Like there's something about the way that people go about it is just kind of boring to me. It's I spoke about it yesterday. So I don't want to sound like a broken record. I don't want to repeat it, but I was talking about this thing that Joe Rogan said recently, which when people tell them something crazy, but it's a real story, there's something about their body. There's something about the animation of the story that tells you the story in a way that you know it happened. Whenever you hear people talk from the UAP community, for the most part, you get nothing. Like they tell you the story and they seem like they believe it, but you don't feel it. And I think there's a reason for that. Now, can it just be that they told the story a billion times and now it's kind of, they don't feel like putting the same amount of emotion? Also possible. But I felt it my whole life. I felt my whole life that just the way that people in the UAP community talk is just kind of, I just don't believe them. I don't know why. I know that the phenomena is real. I know something is really there. I just don't think that there's enough on the table to say either way. And I just don't believe most people that talk about having information, about whatever it is. That's just me. So this is not me saying that it's not real. I'm just saying I can't connect to it. I don't know why. What's up, Halloween, Mike? Age of imitations. What is the age of imitations? When was it not the age of imitations? I ask. So yeah. Well, so you're out, Agape. But yeah, we just don't do that here because it's not. So Agape, this is something to all the people here that are Christian. You're more than welcome to be here, and I love all conversations, even conversations about Jesus, which, by the way, I've been shown that is real. But all I'm saying is that if you're gonna come to the chat, and I know Christians are always convinced that it's an act of love of telling everybody what is the right way and what is the wrong way, and that's an act of love. um Maybe that's how you interpret it, but it does not feel like love to most people. I don't know if you understand this. It doesn't feel like love. It feels like lecturing. It feels like you're talking down or threatening somebody. That's what it feels like. I want you to know this. There's a better way to do this. Lead by example, not by words. So there's a lot of things we can talk about here. There's nothing wrong with it in general. It's just this chat is not for that. If you're going to be coming here and telling me who's Satan and who's God and who's following, is who's going where, take it somewhere else. And it's not personal. It's not like I don't even have necessarily that much of a, and I don't care if people do that. It's just this is not the address, the wrong place. That's all. Uh, and it is interesting, Agape. I hope you won't go away because of it. Because if the only way you're going to be here is if you're going to tell us just that one point over and over and over again, I mean, that's not a conversation. Why, it's not interesting. The Goler thing. I tried. The truth is that I really tried to give it kind of like a chance on this live when people come on, and because I know that Christians for the most part are very well in meaning, and I know for a fact that Agape was as well. It's just that if it's the only thing to say, okay, you said it once, got it. But also, again, when I try to go that route, it always ends up in the same place. It gets to this. We get bogged down by this one point. Well, Jesus is the way. That's it. Jesus is the way. I've even seen that Jesus was real, but that's not the point. The point is there's a lot of ways. You just need to be a good person. If you believe otherwise, by all means, but it is not an act of love of condescending other people, telling them that you know better because you found your way and they don't understand. And if they're not going to follow the thing, you're literally threatening them. So, again, at this point, I'm kind of like, if people don't understand that there's also a receiving end to the message, that is inconsiderate. So, I'm going to voice it. Nothing necessarily new, amazing, Malia. Not that much new about the code. Progress takes time. There is no hate like Christian love. I wouldn't go that far. I do think that most Christians are really well intentioned and meaning. It's almost like there's no way. It's like they can't understand that it is literally being condescending, or it comes across as being condescending or threatening. Because if you're telling people, "Hey, look, I don't want to scare you, but you're going to hell," who talks like that? It's like, that's crazy. No, no alterations of the code, unfortunately. Halloween Mike, I know. I wish it would. Many of them do mental gymnastics to defend the atrocities in their book. So that actually, I used to think all of that stuff about, Christians ignoring kind of like all the horrible things in the Bible. I think my opinion changed to some degree just because I kind of, well, first of all, I've been shown that Jesus is a real thing. So I kind of have to accept it because it was shown to me as like everything else was shown to me in the space. So if I'm gonna take the other thing seriously, so either I ignore all of it, or I have to take what the official statements from the hyperspace are. I have to take them on to the extent that I believe what they're saying. I have to take it seriously. So I kind of start there now, which is like I kind of know that that thing is real. There's checks and balances. I also know that it's part of a much larger reality. I've been shown that as well, which Christians don't like. But Jesus, for all intents and purposes, is real. And but I always say it's a wise idea to follow the good path anyway. Like, why wouldn't you want to do that, right? Jesus, not Jesus. I think that following it because of Jesus is not necessarily the only good reason to do it. You should want to do that. You should want to help other people. You should want to be a good person. You should want to not be a hostage of your own vices. All of these things make for a better life. I think we can all agree on that, or reasonable people, I think, should be able to agree on that. So you should follow that regardless. I don't know if the best way is doing that because of fear of damnation. That to me doesn't make a lot of sense. So I wouldn't go as far as to say as that they should be ashamed of what's in the Bible. I used to say that. I don't say that anymore. Or I used to think that. I don't think that anymore. I do think that there's a lot of wisdom in the way that Christians approach it. Like people who truly, not like in your face about it, but like Christians who just believe and they want to do good. And I get it, and it's beautiful. And by the way, it is true that for people who don't spend the time or ever will spend the time trying to dive into these deep questions, either because of the way they were raised or because of the way that their mind works, or it doesn't matter why. Christian values are good values to follow. So it's almost like a shortcut to have a better life if you just kind of follow these basic regiments. So I'm not so triggered by the Christian faith in general anymore. Um, but I am not enjoying when people come here and start preaching that, and I think most people don't enjoy. If others would enjoy it, I mean, the live is for you guys, so I would be like, okay, well, I'm gonna just kind of stay with it. But I know that it bothers people, so the live here is for the audience that comes here to see us talk about the stuff. So I don't want to see things that are just A, not interesting, B, repetitive, C, annoying. I don't want to see it. um I was shown in hyperspace the full structure of how it all works. I spoke about it before. I think today my cognitive capacity is a little at a low, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get into all the details. The gist of it was that the feeling was very much like, hey, here's how everything is. Now, do I believe that that means that necessarily that's how things are? Of course not. But again, to the extent that I'm reporting honestly from everything that I'm seeing in the space under the banner of official message from, I guess, the governing body versus just like random messages, and that was shown to me under the banner of the official governing body. Like, yes, this is an official message from the control room, so to speak, and this is how things are. And under that scenario, I was shown that yes, Jesus Christ is real, and he is involved in carrying our karma. So we don't have to suffer the consequences of not being a perfect being in a particular environment. Now, how it plays out exactly, I don't really know, but I've been shown there was no ambiguity about it. It was like, yep, that's your guy, and I was like, what? I was very surprised to see that. That was a huge surprise to me. And but yeah, I mean, I guess it makes some sense in terms of karma, and basically what I saw is that the only currency you have to pay for the service, so to speak, uh, for this act of love is just to admit, just to acknowledge that that was done for you. That's it, which is what accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior is. And all of a sudden, under that light, that made more sense. It wasn't as obnoxious as Christians sometimes make it feel. Um, but again, I don't expect anybody to all of a sudden spin on a dime and accept any of this, obviously, because I wouldn't unless I would see it. So basically, they're saying conform and suffer. Yeah, it's like the mobs. Literally, I say it's like I know they don't mean it that way. Thank you, Marsha. I thank you for the roses. I know they don't mean it this way. I know that they mean well. I want to make it clear. I do believe they mean well. It's just that I think they don't realize it literally sounds like the mafia. Like they come and sit and go, hey, hey, I don't want anything to happen to you, So how about you just follow what we say? Hmm? It's literally like a mobster. So, and the thing is that it's always done with such a smile and such nicety, But it's like, dude, no, uh. Justin is saying, perhaps from X is saying, perhaps just as the end of the net of being the only one of us that can face and accept death without rebirth. Um, sure. And Agapa is still with us, and I'm happy that you're with us. She's saying we are here to be light. Wonderful. We are all here to be light. But I assure you that a Buddhist who never heard of Jesus is definitely going to heaven. How's that? And if you doubt that, I think you're confused. And I can say that with a high degree of certainty. Because whatever it is that is required, it's not the actual belief. The belief is almost like a guide, it's like a compass, it's like a little thing that kind of nudges you in the right direction. It's what's in your heart. So if you've been a person who helped your whole life other people and did charity work and just truly a good person inside, you could have never heard of Jesus, and you're definitely going to heaven, or going to whatever version of that is. And the insistence that you must believe is actually a problem, because that interaction gives Christians the illusion and the delusion that they are somehow more in charge, or they have some kind of a special card in their hands. They don't. You don't. You just have to be a good person. What's in your heart is what matters. Um, and I think the thing that makes the most sense to me is that Jesus, what he is, the function of Jesus, that talks to you all the time. That is there constantly for all human beings. It's felt in the body. The ideas around it, the words, the the symbolisms that we create around it, they're not nearly as important as the feeling in the body, which is the thing that the system is registering. Yeah, I know you. That's Exhibit A, Crusader saying being a good person is not enough. You have to develop a good relationship with Jesus. Well, what happens when a person never heard of Jesus? Okay, so I'm going to tell you something now. What I saw in that space, also aside from when I was showing Jesus, it was just part of the picture, is that the biblical God is one of many, 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 many gods, and it's a hierarchy, and He is not at the top. You know who's at the top? A woman. How do you feel about that? That's what I've been shown. So the fact that there's a larger picture, there's always a larger picture. There, it shows that what we understand currently is extremely limited. Now we want to be humble, but at the same time, we want to take responsibility for everything that we can understand in our little environment and try and aim for the good. That's the only thing that matters. If you think that believing the right idea is where it's at, you are objectively, without a question, confused. All right. So I'm gonna start kicking you guys out. Sorry. This is the wrong chat. One-way conversations is not something we do here. Let me see here. Forget about it. Yeah, exactly. Some Mysterio, Gory Gray the Goose. Let's see what we got here. I don't know what her name is. I have no idea. I've never been shown that. Um, the moment we talk down to someone, we place ourselves beneath them. That's a great quote. The moment we talk down to someone, we place ourselves beneath them. I didn't ask to be put here. If the thing that put me in a situation, I did not ask for want something from you. The only solution that makes sense to me is to do the opposite, if only despite them. I mean, would you want to do things to spite the universe just because you didn't ask to be here? That doesn't make a lot of sense. You are where you are. You still want to make the best life out of it, right? Um, Top Argentina, Alejandro Magno. How's the body of God? Humanity is the body of God. You guys are like a broken record, Jesus, literally. All right. Um, Trying to read through the comments. The Akashic Records is a term you have heard. Is it possible to call that scene is the record? Yes, it is very possible that it is that. It's up hard to handle. Love you all. I hope you see how the old church is sacred right now. All right. Christopher Bledsoe talked about Hathor. Do you think he is connected to the cult? No, not. I'm not familiar. Since you're so open about this stuff, I will ask this: are you ever in deep meditation or about to visit a space? You have a being literally trying to stop you. No, the beings that I'm seeing, they're pretty friendly to me most of the time. All right, guys. I think yeah, I'm gonna have to jump off here. Oh, Nico wants to come on. Nico's time is always sacred. How are you, brother?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good.
I rewatched the Andreas Toe podcast,
Yeah, yeah, I watched all of it when you sent it to me.
and I was looking for that smirk. I think you mentioned that Kurt had a smirk on his face. I didn't see it.
Yeah, maybe I misread it. I don't know. I was driving when I saw it the first time.
Okay.
Oh no, no, no. There was one in the whole conversation. There was something. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find that moment. I'm gonna find that
Okay.
moment. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was some. There's
It
definitely something. Yeah, yeah.
it actually sounded like Kurt was very open to this kind of stuff, but he did ask Andreas one question which I really liked, which is
Oh,
if you
the whole conversation was great. That was a really great
yeah.
episode. Yeah, yeah.
But he asked them, like in the Buddhist teachings, he was saying that they really discourage using these catalysts. And I was thinking about this today, and I was thinking, is this because when you get there, when you get to this space, and you talked about this with Zoltan, right? When you see the ocean instead of the rippling pond in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
and you get there without letting go of, without doing the hard work, without doing the practice of meditation, letting go of things. I think it kind of has this like psychedelic ego, or like this, like I don't want to, because I've met a lot of, in the psychedelic community, I've met people that are either they have the biggest egos I've ever seen in the world, or they have literally no ego, right? And I'm wondering if the Buddhist practice of doing it is kind of the hard way of doing it, which kind of always guarantees that you let go of these things and you have kind of more pure intentions. But I was kind of wondering, because Andreas had given answers saying, well, he doesn't know if it's good or bad, but I don't feel like he really answered the question like I thought Kurt wanted an answer to. But I was curious what you thought about that.
Yeah, no, I think it was a good question. I think, and this is what Andres said, which is that he's open to be convinced either way. I think that we would be wise to explore and figure it out. I think that a lot of people have too much certainty in what they think they know and understand, as exemplified by some of the stuff that was said here in the last 20 minutes. Um, the truth is that the picture is truly very complex. And even in the conversation between me and Andres, right, there's so much room for misunderstanding, and I don't blame him because I know when he tried to see the code, he couldn't see it, and then he kind of relies on what other people tell him, and there is something there that unless you really look in the space between the space, you don't actually see what we're talking about. You kind of see the surface, and it doesn't exactly map onto what we're actually describing, so it's not as impactful. The reason it's relevant is because this is just a visual observation, and we're trying to match it with some kind of a theoretical framework we have. Now imagine how many steps through and look how much misunderstanding we have there, right? And I told Andres many times, you're this whole spiel you're doing about the cymatics, that's not what we're talking about. So like you're literally pointing to the wrong thing, but he hasn't seen it, so I can't blame him, right? But now imagine how many steps removed and how many places for misunderstanding you have with something that is most people never experience, right? So I'll submit to you that this is a good example of this, right? Most Christians have no idea what a transcendent state is. They don't have a clue. They have ideas about it, like ideas they have in their minds. They sometimes feel something in the church, I'm sure, because these spirits are real, and they kind of what I guess you would call the Holy Spirit kind of engulfs everybody. But they have no idea what it's like to be in a transcendent state. They've never, most Christians, they didn't put in the work, meditated, control, learn how to control and dive deeper into their minds. They don't know what they're talking about. It's a hearsay. They heard from somebody else. They have ideas, right? Now it upsets them tremendously, and I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Um, and I think that in order to really get into a substance of this answer, is you need to have it with people who did some work around experiencing these things, either through psychedelics or through meditation or both, hopefully, and then you can kind of have a true conversation about it. Because for the most part, people either have one piece of the puzzle or the other piece of the puzzle, and then they kind of translate from domains. They don't really understand it. They don't have the experiential part of it, which is um, you can't have a substance conversation about something you've never experienced yourself. It's like two people arguing about skiing and they both just read it in a book. Imagine how funny that is to a skier, right? It's like they have no idea and they're arguing. It's essentially where the position we're in most of the time. The people that do investigate, they go deeper, understand that these things are very complex and it's really not clear. Like even when you, by the way, even I wouldn't necessarily, the whole thing with the Buddha, my jury is still out whether the Buddha figured something truly universal out or there was something that was relevant to his time. I still don't know. So it's possible that it was completely universal, right? And then he kind of reached the conclusion that all attachment is suffering, and it doesn't matter how you go about it, you will always end up in the same place. That was the consensus. Like that was kind of like the conclusion he arrived at after he achieved nirvana. Um, Is it possible that it's because he lived in a time where, for the most part, it was mostly suffering? Because it's not the case for us. We can say, yeah, but we suffer too, but no, we don't. Like, not on that level. Nobody today in the modern world, unless they have some kind of a major chronic condition and they suffer from pain all the time, most people, we bring the suffering on ourselves. That is true. But for the most part, it's possible to have a pretty beautiful life now. So I don't know if Buddha would be saying the same thing if he would be living today. You know what I mean? It's not clear to
Right.
me. And because of that, kind of relying, and Kurt made it clear that he wasn't necessarily promoting or demoting this idea. He was just saying, hey, that's what I heard from the teachings of the Buddha. What do you think? And I think it's a legitimate question, but the truth is, I'm not sure. I don't know if these things are always. I can give you my personal trajectory through this space, which is I've done so many of these things for like so many times that I can't say, just like Andrea said in the conversation, I can't say that it didn't do any work on me. Like it opened windows of understanding that I know I would never be able to know without that, right? There's no way. But if I would have to choose, I do prefer the gentler path now. The older you get, I think the less you want the crazy explosions. You want kind of like you're going to the gym. Like you want to row slow and kind of go where you're gonna go. Like just take it easy. You want to feel equanimity. That's why I'm also in the habit of saying that I don't even think it's very much apropos and very fashionable now for people to say that love is all binding force. I'm in the habit of saying maybe, but my intuition is that it is not. It's equanimity is what you want, not love. Love is beautiful, but it has a vector by definition. You either love yourself, even if it's towards yourself, it's towards something. It's a feeling. It's a thing that is even by the definition itself, which is it's binding. So it's binding more. So it implies more than one thing, right? If it's one thing, it doesn't need binding. It's just that thing. So people don't even realize that what they're saying is basically just self-contradicting. So it's like if love is binding, but we're all one, what are you binding? Right? So it's not that that's not an important component of existence. I still think it's a very important one, but ultimately it cannot be the ultimate thing. It has to be equanimity. It can't be anything else, because equanimity is basically completely, it's divine indifference. And the reason I'm saying it, because indifference usually in our world kind of feels negative. It's like, oh, you don't care. No, it's just you're very neutral. So you accept the yin and the yang. You accept the dark and the light. It's all part of existence. You don't negate anything. You don't push anything away. You don't say half of whatever exists, I'm going to put it over there in some kind of a dungeon and we're not going to deal with that. That doesn't make any sense. What you want is you want every being in existence to reach some kind of an equilibrium, some kind of an even state, that then everything can just rest. That is the fairest state. Because if you have the same amount of darkness and the same amount of light in the universe and they cannot be eradicated, never can be created or destroyed, and they're just what they are, then every time that you push away any dark part because you think you're supposed to just be light, what you don't realize that you by necessity, like leaf blower, you're just kind of pushing the darkness away somewhere and it's going to end up somewhere else. So you're pushing it onto something else. And if you believe that, no, but I'm just a good person, I mean, that's just the mother of all delusions, right? We all have these dark components. They're uneradicable. You can't remove them. They're part of the constituents of nature. What you can do is you come to terms with them, and you bring peace into that situation. That is what equanimity is. And in relationship to that question, how you go about that, I don't think anybody knows. That's exactly the point. That even the Buddha, I personally think that it doesn't make sense to me that some, first of all, a person understood everything there is to understand forever, for everything in all of existence. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, even if it's not us personally believing that one of us understood something like that for the totality of existence, I mean, that is still a form of narcissism, I think. So everything is evolving, including the understanding of all the beings in existence. And even the highest of beings, there's certain things they don't know. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think that's what gives spice to everything. And but the one thing that does make sense to me is that however you have to bring the equilibrium and the um, that state of balance, equanimity, that's what you want. And if it means that in the beginning you have to kind of crack the surface with psychedelics, and then when it spills out, then you gather it together with contemplative practice and with meditative practices. Okay, that was your trajectory. That was kind of my trajectory. I would never, I know, well, I can't know for sure because it's not, we can't live a different life than we're living, but I can say with like very high degree of certainty that most likely the mind that I had or have, I would never ever 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 believe in God. I would never ever ever believe in spirits or ghosts or anything like that ever, because I've never felt them, I've never seen them, I don't believe things, I only know what I know. And it takes me a long time to get to a place where I know something, right? So I would never find it without psychedelics. There's no way. I needed a tool that was very, very powerful, big, aggressive, because it needed to open me, right? That's me. That doesn't mean that that's the trajectory for everybody, but I don't think that it's so, you know, clean cut. Like, well, you should just stay away from. And by the way, I don't even agree with the statement itself, which Kurt quoted, which is that he said, Devin, thank you so much for gifting the memberships. Devin just gifted 5 memberships to people on YouTube. I appreciate you, brother. I don't even agree with the statement itself. The statement was, I forget who he was quoting, was somebody from the Buddhistic community. Simon, how are you, brother? So power dimensions meditation. Yeah, so he was basically saying that in a world of already so many illusions, why would you take a substance that gives you more illusions? I just fundamentally disagree with that. I don't think they're illusions. I think we see more of what actually is there. Whether we, you know, How much of this should we take on board, or just keep living kind of like within our own bubble for the period that we have? I don't know. These questions are very difficult, but I find these kind of, simple rules for all of existence, like, hey, don't do psychedelics because they show you more content that you can handle, or it shows you delusion. I think that's just it has to be case by case basis for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. And yeah, I mean, I agree with you that we definitely are suffering differently, these days. Oh dang, is that a someone just gave like
That was great.
a gift?
Thank you, Halloween Mike. It was
I feel
Polaris.
like, although we're suffering today, we have very long lives, and Western medicine extends our lives and our comfort, and we have shelter and food, etc. We do have this kind of disconnect with our bodies and with the environment, right? To a point where I was looking at a statistic of like the amount of, self unalivings is extraordinarily high. It's mind blowing actually. And I don't know if that was a normal thing back then, right? So I think there is a big kind of spiritual mental crisis happening with humanity.
Whoa.
Even though, like you and Zoltan
This
said,
is
we are
great.
growing up.
Yeah.
Um,
That's so funny. That's cool, Halloween. Continue.
yeah. Anyways, yeah. So I've just been doing a lot of thinking on the podcast, and yeah, and I thought it was funny when Zoltan called. He's like they're the awakened, and then everyone else is an NPC. And I know he said it as a joke, but I loved how you corrected. I thought that was funny. But anyways,
Yeah, no, I mean, we don't always agree. It's okay. I really have tremendous respect for Zelta and his experience. I think, look, in the end of the day, we're all trying to figure it out, and being kind to one another and giving each other the grace of, kind of like the gestation period that each and every one of us might require, but that might be different from everybody else. Um, even it's funny because, and this is where Christians might realize how condescending it sounds, because what I want to say, and I mean it, and it's going to sound condescending. I don't mean it in a condescending way, but um, there's a I even have compassion, and I'm trying my best to just allow for the space, because it's clear to me that anybody who's just kind of found a thing and now they have to push that thing on everybody and they think that's the biggest act of love, that is their level of development. They can't see past it at the moment. And I have to have compassion for that. Now, notice how condescending that sounds, right? I mean it not in a condescending way, but it is true as far as I can tell. That it's just it's an inability to see that there are many ways to achieve certain states, and the and you kind of get stuck in the state where it has to be that way. And the truth is that even under the most logical frame of what is being proposed by all the religious frames, which is that God created the perfect plan, right? So, under that plan, all of this is planned. Everybody's predispositions, everybody's point of view, everybody's confusion, including the Christian confusion, all of it is part of the plan. And I do believe that. But this is why kind of allowing that space. And if you truly believe that God is guiding it all you can truly do as an act of love is to hold space for somebody, and God will do the rest. The voicing of it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think that that is something that, even though we in the West we tend to think of Eastern traditions as more enlightened, and maybe to some degree they are in some ways, but they're not immune from being human. They're just as neurotic, they're just as confused, they just have their their biases exactly the same way. Just because it's Eastern traditions doesn't mean that they don't have moments where you know they're just as confused as everybody else. And the Buddha is no exception. I think he was an exceptional human being, and I do think that he achieved what is being claimed about him. But do I know that that is the ultimate answer of everything? I don't think the Buddha believed in a all God Almighty, and it seems that that exists. So was the Buddha wrong? I don't know. Or maybe the Buddha saw the whole thing. Oh, this is dope. Or maybe Buddha. Thank you for all of these. Or maybe the Buddha saw the whole thing and he said, you know what? Beyond the, who knows, right? Beyond the God, beyond the thing, there's just nirvana. Like maybe it's beyond that. I don't know. Like the only thing we can do is to just be there for each other and to try and be kind and graceful and truly give each other the space to be wrong. Like that's okay, you know. I think that's the best I can say.
Right. And then one last thing
Sure.
is Joe Rogan and Elon, they had a podcast recently, right? And they said that the problem with the liberals is they have too much empathy, right? There's an empathy virus. They equated the woke mind virus to too much empathy.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, because I do
Very much
have a
aligned
lot
with
of
that. Yeah.
empathy for, let's say, like transgendered people, right?
Mhm.
And although I see a lot of the arguments on both sides of like, well, should we allow them to compete in sports like normal people do? That's a very contentious kind of thing in society right now, right? But I was kind of curious, when it comes to empathy, how do you regulate empathy to not have or how do you check your empathy, right? Because it seems like a lot of this stuff is coming from a good place, but it's just unchecked.
I don't think so. I actually think that a lot of this stuff, specifically what you're mentioning right now, a lot of it comes from a very totalitarian attempt that is actually an attempt to control others, and it's basically hijacking the empathy of others. I don't think it's a good player. I don't think it's coming from a good place at all. That's my impression of it. It's There's a book called The Case Against Empathy. I forget who wrote it. It's a philosopher. Maybe you can Google it. It's called The Case Against Empathy. And it basically outlines this exact problem, which is that people, um, so that it makes a difference between empathy and compassion. And empathy is basically just your ability to feel the other people's plight or the emotions, and that can serve a purpose of people feeling that they're not alone because somebody's joining in their feeling. But there's a big difference between that and compassion, which is a slightly more emotionally removed attitude, but one that understands the larger scope of what's going on, is actually trying to do something that will actually remedy the problem. So the difference between, somebody falls in the well, too much empathy will paralyze you, because if it's somebody who's like, now they're thirsty and now they're like dying of thirst and whatever, I don't know how long they were stuck there. So okay, so you climbing down there or sitting on top of the well and crying with them, is that going to help them? No. That's the problem of empathy. You need to do something to help them get out of there, right? And very often, like with an animal, for example, the animal doesn't understand what you're doing, right? So it's scared. So you need to literally do something that on the surface of it looks like it's scaring the animal, makes it very uncomfortable, but you got to do it because you understand, you have compassion. You're going to do the thing even though you might look bad to the animal. You might look bad, but you're going to do it anyway because you understand that you're going to put it in a better situation in a moment, or you're going to try to, right? So the fact that the animal is scared, imagine that you trying to save the animal and people from the side are going, what are you doing? It's scared. Leave it alone. It's scared. That's the situation we're in for the most part. It's the people who actually understand what needs to be done to solve these problems are being yelled at by people who don't understand how to fix things. They just know how to feel, and they think them feeling is actually doing good, when in reality they're just distracting from the process that is trying to happen in order to make things better. And that's the confusion. That is the danger of it. There's a place for empathy, of course, but it's usually individual, not collective. Tuckbase, how you doing, brother? So it's like you can't you cannot solve collective problems with empathy. You just can't. It just doesn't work on that scale. And the transgender thing is a really good example. They're not gonna flag us for this on TikTok. But I know, so I know two transgender people really well. Okay. And I know a few more, but like two that I know really well. They don't really have that chip on their shoulder. The people who do, it's a separate thing. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for the. Chris just gifted another 5 members. Thank you so much, brother. Deeply appreciate that. The people who do, that's an extra agenda. That's not part of the thing. Understanding the plight of a minority has nothing to do with infringing on the rights of others. That is a derangement. The if you I mean, I don't even truly, I don't even understand what the discussion is about. It's a no, end of story. Like what? Like do you understand that, like, women, this is actually trampling over women's rights, right? So like, it's like the delusion is so crazy that like people are even like, it's not even a point of discussion. It shouldn't be. It's like you are people who work their whole lives to try and achieve this thing. There was a case in the swimming thing, right? There was a famous case with the swimming, and when they interviewed later the women that were actually in the swimming teams, they're like, we're afraid that we're going to be kicked out, but like we really don't want this. Like this is crazy. Like it's crazy. Like we worked our whole lives for this, and this dude just comes in and just swims all over. Now, if they feel like a woman, that's fine, and they can do this transition. They can do whatever they want. That should be absolutely allowed for an adult, but they have no right whatsoever to come in and destroy the work that women put in their whole lives because they want to operate under this delusion. They don't have the same body. They don't. They don't have the same ability physically. That is just a false. That's just a false. This is not a tiger. Can it maybe be a tiger? No. This is not a tiger. Okay? Their body is not the same. Exactly like this is not a tiger. And anybody who doesn't understand it, that is derangement. That's why it's so dangerous. It has nothing to do with the ability of society to accept the different and create space for them to feel like a healthy human being that is not crazy, that is not, absolutely, that should absolutely be part of what we want to strive for always, but not at the expense of others when it's so egregiously obvious.
Yeah, that's a great point. And someone in the comments said it, I think, pretty well, where it's a control mechanism, and I can totally see how that is the case. But yeah, I mean, I think on the podcast you said it very well that someone can be like Jesus, exactly like Jesus, and not follow the teachings of or the religion of Christ, right? And so. I'm a big fan of the teachings of Jesus, but it's so rare to find the practice of those teachings done like purely or with good intent. So, but yeah, anyways, it was great to talk to you, Danny. Really appreciate
Always,
the
brother.
conversation and feedback.
Yeah. Wait, so are you transitioning or?
No. I've just been seeing, recently, I think like Gavin Newsom did a podcast with a conservative, and
Oh yeah, I got it with Charlie Kirk, right?
Yeah.
I gotta give it to him. Sorry, I'm cutting you off, but like I gotta give it to him. That I was surprised they did that. I gotta watch the whole thing. That I saw the clip when he's telling him that the left just can't take, can't go out there and just kind of, spitball. I gotta watch that conversation. Why did you bring that one up?
I was getting in a little bit of so I got in a little bit of maybe I'm on the internet too much, but my friends and I got in a little bit of a back and forth about that. And I obviously, like, when you look at it scientifically, like you were saying, there's no argument. There's a very big difference. But I think I was trying to have, or I was realizing that my empathy was really being hijacked, where I was brought up and Gavin Newsom made this argument, right? The suicide rates are so high, and there's such a it's such a debilitating situation to be in as a member of society where you're developing and you have this issue, or maybe that word is offensive, but and so there's this kind of, and Gavin Newsom even admitted, he's like, yeah, it's unfair, but I can't throw away this empathy that I have for this community, and I've been kind of wrestling with that.
For which community?
concept.
Sorry, for which community?
The transgender community.
Oh, well, look, this is the thing. You're asking me how I'm capping it. I don't know. There's just a level of certain kind of detachment that it just kind of comes. I don't know if it's with age. You kind of run out of energy to like deal with every nonsense. Okay, and then the really important things, they all of a sudden become apparent. So the two transgender people that I mentioned that I do know well, there's definitely this very deep pain there, that has to do with identity, that has to do with like the situation they're in is already very traumatic. All of that is true. Okay. And because of that, it's not gonna be a terrible idea that society has a better awareness of it, so they understand that just by being like that, you essentially already running a certain amount of pain, psychological pain, on your hard drive that most people don't need to deal with. It's a constant inner battle. And on top of that, now they have to be, every time they resolve the battle inside themselves, they now also need to battle with the world, right? It's like a double crazy situation. And for that, we should absolutely have empathy. It stops when the other side stops understanding that there's other people. That's it. That's very simple, because we all have problems. And some of us more than others. Others suffer a lot more than transgender people. There are people in this world that suffer tremendously more than transgender people. You don't have to be an asshole about it. Like I met one that kept on like doing the whole correction of like, I kept, but like truly out of like not like, it was already clear that like, there's zero attempt in me to try and make them feel uncomfortable. It's like we were hanging out for a while, and I was like, and one time I would like by mistake, like it just happens, right? Because they look a certain way, so you're like, I think it was, which one was offending them? Oh, if it wasn't them, basically, it was saying them was the only thing that they felt comfortable with. And like since then, I kind of became more sensitive. But like in the beginning, it was like it's a shift. You got to do it. You don't notice, like, and then you will blurt out like she once in a while or whatever, or like and they would like go ape shit, and I'll go, yo, we're not doing this. Like, if you can't see that there's a real attempt to connect and no attempt to try and hurt you, if you just do this like capricious thing of like, oh, you said the wrong thing, well, fuck off then. This is like, it's sorry, like there's zero. I am also a person, and I also exist in this world, and we either gonna coexist or fuck off. Very simple. And it has nothing to do with lack of, because there's just a line. You know what I mean? They're like, now you're infringing on my right to exist. You're not gonna be policing my language. I'm not like being in your face about it. Like, it's a genuine mistake. And I just noticed it's like it's this like attempt to control. And you see some of them like get off on that. And especially because society allows for that. No. We all exist here. So we're gonna try and make room for each other. And where we can't, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It has, I don't know if it's the slightly more Russian attitude in me. There's a little bit more kind of like cut and dry, but I am a person that cares deeply about people. Truly, like I really love, and I love being in the company of people, and I care about how they feel. I care that everybody are always comfortable. It makes me very uncomfortable when there's somebody in the room sitting alone and they feel uncomfortable. I would always go and like make sure that they feel really, really included, not like as a as a feel good kind of thing. But it really makes me feel uncomfortable when somebody just feels alone, right? So I know that about myself. That's a real thing. So if I'm like said the wrong thing here and there, it was like, yo, I'm gonna treat you with the same respect. You want respect, right? Well, I'm gonna treat you with the same respect that I would treat any brother of mine, any really good friend of mine. if they overstep a certain boundary and they kind of get a little bit too much into their own head and go a little bit too haywire, be like, yo, no, we're not doing that. That's okay. Like, relax. So that's where I'm coming from. Now, other people are more sensitive, less sensitive, but if you really come out of a good place, you should have no problem in saying to somebody else, well, that's my boundary. That's it.
Yeah, and I think a big key is we need to give people the benefit of the doubt. Everyone needs to afford that to everyone, right? Is not assume the worst. It's especially difficult when it took me a long time to learn English, and I learned all the grammar, and then I'm not good enough to like play jujitsu with my grammar and use plurals for singular pronouns. And it blows my, I suck at it big time.
So in addition to that, you need to memorize all this shit. Yeah, no, it's a control thing. I'm telling you, like that whole fad that would just happen and hopefully is done. That has nothing to do with the I forget what the official medical condition, but like the transgender actual condition, the thing that they what is it called? There's a medical term to it, I forget, but that has nothing to do with that. These people have a rough go for sure, and we should be compassionate towards that, and it should be like be respectful of the fact that just like any other human, they're going through something that we might not understand, but we do too. It's an average out game. It's not a all you game. And I think that people got a little bit too much into the habit of like, well, if it belongs into these little slots of the minorities, but decided that now important, everything. No, I'm also in the room and I'm also a person. It's if you want me to respect you, I need the same respect back. That's all. And I think that ultimately that's where it has to land. That there just has to be again balance. I honestly I don't. I think that any healthy adult should want to be treated equal. Isn't that what everybody should want? Like, isn't equality is what you really want? How did that word go away? Right? Equality doesn't mean you get everything if you're in the room because of some condition with the Senate. But that's not equality. That's you being preferred. Why would you want to be in that condition unless you want to be elevated to a certain stature? That just makes sense to me. Like if I would have some kind of a disability, I would the thing that would make me feel the most I don't know comfortable is if the most uncomfortable thing to a person with they have some kind of a disability if they're in a wheelchair, but is that people look at them like they're special. That makes them feel uncomfortable because they feel not equal. That's the thing that you want to be. That's how I know that the people that like too much making noise around it, they don't want equality. They want to be special.
Yeah, amen, brother. Well, yeah, man, that was pretty good breakdown. But again, what you and Zoltan, the podcast was amazing, dude. You're an expert. It's amazing how to see you like every day on these lives, and I'm like, okay, Danny's very comfortable, but then to see you in the podcast, in the actual, like, it's just a whole different version, right? Like you're at a different RPM, and it's really awesome to see because. Yeah, I mean, I guess all of this is preparation. I don't know, but you're at a high level. So
thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you, and I'm excited what's to come for all of us. As you know, we're working on some pretty fun things, and excited to share that soon.
Yeah, and if everyone can help spam Kurt Jaimongo's feed or
oh yeah, you should. I totally would go on this podcast. It would be fun.
Or can we pick one person? So is it Kurt, Lex
Kurt would be great.
Or
Kurt would be
one
great.
person that I have you in God, what's his name? Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss. I have a mutual friend with him, so I told him about. I always send him your podcast and stuff.
Oh, dude, that is so nice of you.
Yeah. Well, anyways,
thank you.
I think Kurt. Maybe we can figure it out on Discord, but I think Kurt Jaimongo.
Yeah, Kurt would be great.
a good target.
Yeah, we should make that happen. Kurt should be a lot of fun to talk to. I really enjoy his podcast. I've been watching it for a long time.
Awesome. Well, have a good night, brother.
Thank you,
Appreciate
you
it.
too, brother. A lot of love. All right, guys, I'm gonna slowly hop off. There's one again. I'm gonna do it one more night. I think we have a good show up today. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, know that this is not a regular thing. I don't usually do this. I only doing this because I actually know the person pretty well. I did this yesterday. I'm going to do it only today. Might mention it one more time tomorrow, but I'm not going to mention it more just because the channel is not about that kind of stuff usually. And we're going to make all the good causes available soon for anybody who wants to, contribute. But I have a good friend who, well, a couple days ago discovered he has a brain tumor. It seems like for the time being is going to be all right. It's a slow advancing tumor. I'm just going to leave a link on YouTube for his GoFundMe that he needs for the operation and stuff. I want to bring it up because these kind of things you never know. This is not a scam. I know the guy Nate. He's a great guy, and he really helps a lot of people. Uh, he's handling it really well. But if you can help, by all means, if it's $5, $3, or if you're wealthier, you have an easier go with money, whatever you can spare, $500,000 that would be received with gratitude, I'm sure. But again, I want to emphasize only do this if this is really not a problem for you. If money is an issue, do not donate, please. I don't want anybody to stretch beyond their capabilities. It's a nice thing to do for somebody, especially because it's a serious thing. It's not like you know, whatever you can spare. And if you can't, just share the information if you can. I promise you, is an incredible guy. And yeah, so I'll post it right here on YouTube and on. Thank you so much, amazing. If you're on TikTok, I guess you can just either go to YouTube on Dango Thoughts and see the link. This is it. Or you can go to GoFundMe, which is gofund.me. And then you do / C3A21999. Again, C3A, C like Charlie, 3, A like Apple, 21999. That's after GoFundMe. So, or you can go to YouTube, Dango Thoughts, and see the link there. And receive a gratitude for any donation for Nate. He's an incredible human and he deserves to be happy, alive with us. And this might actually just save his life. All right, guys. If you want to follow me across platforms, it'll be Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram. It'll be Goller Danny. So just reverse him on X, and LaserX83 on Twitch, and Dango Thoughts on YouTube. DANGO Thoughts on YouTube. YouTube also includes a membership program that includes Zoom calls with me, weekly lives, aside from the daily lives that are for members only, early access to all my content, and private things from my life that will only live on YouTube members. All of that is under YouTube members. If you want, what's up, Charlotte? Good to have you here with us. Brighton, Simon, Stephen, I see Ebony. How are you, Richard? Yeah, love you all, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Ebony and Devin and Chris, they're in the habit of gifting people. They're also my right hand people. They're the Discord mods, and they're doing so much incredible work behind the scenes. By the way, you should join our Discord as well, which is on. If you go to my YouTube channel, there's a link, the third one from the top, and that is our. I love the fish. Thank you. And that will be our Discord. It's our new Discord. It's our actual community. Please join us. There's a lot of fun conversations there. And what else? Yeah, so I deeply want to thank to all the people that are just constantly contributing to the projects and building and working together. Simon, love you, brother. Thank you so much for always having incredible ideas. All the people of the community itself that are showing up either regularly or semi-regularly and making this community what it is. I deeply appreciate you. It's amazing to watch them grow. Nico, thank you, brother. Irv and Daniel, thank you so much, brother, for always being a part of this community. Again, Chris, Ebony, who am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting here? I know I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, Bradley. Oh, wow. And Laszlo and David Carter was like, I don't even know what to say about that. Today I discovered And this is crazy. This is how crazy David is. Like a few days ago, I said that my laptop was kind of going a little haywire. Today he told me, he's just like, hey, you have a laptop in the mail. I'm like, what? It's like I'm just like I don't even know what to say. Like I beyond the level of being grateful for this kind of stuff. It's like my dream is to develop something that we can just do this for anybody who actually needs help, both in the community and beyond that. And I mean, all we can do is just keep evolving, keep growing, and trying to do our best to do the best work. So I love you all, and let's build something beautiful together, to the extent that we can influence it. And beyond that, the most important thing is that you be Jesus like, not just believe in Jesus. So love you guys. Have a good night. Peace and love. See you tomorrow. Ciao. Have a good night, guys.